The fear of being wrong is one of the most common things that stop people from coming into their psychic abilities. So I'm going to speak into how to care for that part. When the fear of being wrong comes into intuition, what actually happens is you're actually going into a state of people pleasing and control. When you go into those states, you're turning off intuition and you're going straight into the mind. Firstly, I want you to remember that a high level psychic is about 85% accurate. We are never going to be 100% correct. Simply because we don't have a full understanding of our subconscious mind. Sometimes our stories come in, the flavor and the life experience we have can always sneak into our intuition to some capacity, even for myself. So the one thing that I've learned about the fear of being wrong is simply to start by observing it. So go back to the very first video I created with the observer and observe that fear and how much it's playing out in your life. Because if you think it's just playing out in your psychic awareness development, you'd be incorrect. It'd be playing out through every other aspect in your life. The second thing I get my students to do is acknowledge that it's there. I myself didn't realize how deeply this goes for me, that fear of being wrong. My whole livelihood relies on me being accurate and correct, day in, day out, no matter what else is happening in my life. So it's a big deal. But the way I care for that part of myself is through observing and acknowledging. These parts of ourselves want acknowledgement. Emotions just want to be acknowledged. No matter how scary they are, in the end, we process them by being with them. So before every single reading, I will acknowledge that part of me that's terrified of being wrong. Then I will also acknowledge the part of me that wants to go into people pleasing and please the client by telling them exactly what they want to hear. That isn't intuition, that is my mind. So it needs acknowledgement. The fear needs acknowledgement. There are many different ways to acknowledge the mind. Sometimes I'll just say it out loud. That way it's been heard and I can come back into an intuitive state. Now, where this has really hit me deeply is understanding how much the fear of being wrong plays out in relationship dynamics. So whether it be romantic or friendship. I'm someone that wants deep emotional connection. I love loving people, caring for people, nurturing people, and wanting to be able to receive that back. The fear of not having that connection creates a persona. So what I started to observe was that I would create this persona of what I thought was acceptable so I could receive that connection, that love. But the more I observed this, the more I realized the thing that people were connecting to wasn't actually me. So I couldn't actually receive the love that was coming in, the care, the affection, the nurture. Instead, it felt empty, and then I went back into a state of loneliness. So the very thing I was trying to not create, I created because I was terrified of being wrong. So what I'm working with now is simply observing how much I stop myself from expressing, showing up, being honest, and sharing who I am. With this observation, it's allowing me to move more into exploration, honesty, and ultimately, authenticity. And within that authentic self, I'm able to create connection. So, I get curious, how is the fear of being wrong creating loneliness or disconnect in your life? Because it's also disconnecting you from your psychic awareness and intuitive abilities. So start with observing and acknowledging that it's there.